questions such as the registration failed issues, or I cannot make a call, or my call has no audio, like a one-way audio issues. So that is the common questions. So let's get start here. And also for today, I have my colleague Tracy with me today. So if you have any questions, please feel free to type it into the chat box, and Tracy will be able to answer the question for me while I'm doing the presentations. And I will also going over through all the questions after I finish the presentations. So let's get started. Let's have a overview on our products. So let's go over the ZYCOO modules. So those are the modules that can be provided from us. So we have the FFO, FFS, and the FFOS. The GSM, the BRI, and also the PRI, the WCDMAs. And let's briefly go over all the modules one by one. So for the FFO modules, it stands for the Foreign Exchange Office. So this interface is going to connect with APSTN telephony lines for the FSO. So if you are confused with the FSO or the FSS, so you may think of the O as outside. So this interface is going to connect with a PSTN telephone lines and will be going through outside. And for the FSO modules, we have the 2 FSO and the 4 FSO. And then we have our FSS. So for the FSS is the interface for generally connecting to analog phones or fax machine. So for the S, you may think of like stations, and the interface that is connecting from the FSS to the analog device will be never leave the building. So the FSS, also we provide the 2 and the 4 options, the 2 FSS and the 4 FSS. Then we have our FFOS. So for the OS is the combinations of the 2 previous module that we just went through. So the FFOS containing 1 FSO and the 1 FSS. So on this module, we also have the 1 and the 2 options. Then we got our GSM. So the GSM representing for 2G SIM card modules. So on the GSM, we support 1 GSM, 2 GSM, and the 4 GSM. So one thing we need to be aware of is the 1 GSM module can be only applied to our U20, so which is the smallest models of PBX in our CooVox series. And then we got our WCDMA. So the WCDMA is representing for 3G SIM card modules. So on the WCDMA, we support the 2 WCDMA and the 4 WCDMA. So on the WCDMA, we do not have the 1 WCDMA. And here comes our BRI and the PRI. So E1T1 is also stand for PRI, primary race interface, and the BRI stand for basic race interface. So on the BRI, each part in the BRI module, it can support 2 lines. So one of the 4 BRI modules can support at most 8 call lines. while the E1 and the T1. So the E1, T1, they are slightly different in the transferring frequency. So in some countries, like if you are in the United States or in Canada, it use T1 over E1. But in China here or in Australia, we use the E1. So the PRI, I believe it can support like up to 30 or 31 call lines. And then let's take a look on our CooVox series. So for our CooVox series of IP-PBX, we have 5 models from the U20 to the U100. So the major difference between these, like from the like the outside hardware designs, the top 2, the U20 and the U60. So these 2 models, they are onboard modules design. So it usually comes with the already the preset modules with the U20 and the U60. While if you do need to, like if you need to replace or change the modules in the U20 or the U60, you do need to unscrew the box and change the module from inside. While the U50, the U80, and the U100, they are module design, which means you can change the module from the outside. You don't need to like unscrew the box and open the box and change the module. All you need to do is to power off, unplug your device, and then pull out the module from the outside, and then replacing with a new module. Just pull and plug in. And let's see. Well, if you are changing the modules, make sure that your device is power off and unplugged. Do not try to change the module. When the device is on, it will be surely surely damage the module. And let's take briefly go over all the models. So for U20s, it can support a maximum number of 15 concurrent calls and a maximum number of 32 extension users. And I have listed the module that the U20 can be supported on the right side. So it can support a FSOS, 2 FSS, 2 FSO, and 1 GSM. And then here is the back interface, the back view of our U20. So for the reset button, so there is a little reset button from the second to the right. This reset button, you can use it to reset all the configurations or reset the whole SD card for the in the systems. So while your system is running, you just need to hold the reset button for 6 to 8 seconds, and then release the button. It will be reset all the configurations. And if you are trying to reset the whole SD card inside the systems, what you need to do is to first of all, you need to power off the device, and then press the reset button, put the power on, hold the reset button for 6 to 8 seconds until the system light goes on. It will be blinking, and release the reset buttons. And it takes somewhere around like 8 to 10 minutes for the whole system to be rebooted. So if everything works correctly, you should be able to like reboot. The system will be rebooted in somewhere around like 8 to 10 minutes. Then we have our U50. So the U50 supports a maximum number of 30 concurrent calls and a up to 100 extension users. So for the U50 comparing to the U20, it has this USB port. So for this USB port, it can use as a USB data storage, like a extended USB storage. So you can actually like plug in a USB drive for the external storage using this USB port. And then we have two slots. So you may replacing this two slots with the module that you need. And for the console part, the console part is usually for debug purpose, and the reset button on the U50 is exactly the same. It can work exactly the same as our U20. And then we have our U60. So the U60 supports a maximum number of 60 concurrent cores and a up to 200 extension user. So for the U60, it only supports the 2FS, the 2FSO, and the FFOS. So those are the three modules that the U60 can support. And from the back view of the U60, that we can see on the back of our U60, we have two USB ports. So this USB port can be used to connect a keyboard for debug purpose, or it can be used as a USB external storage. So you can also like plug in a USB drive for the external storage here. And also we have the audio in and out part reserved in our U60. Then here comes our U80. So the U80 supports a maximum number of 60 concurrent cores and a maximum number of 200 extension user. And the U80 is support the BRI and the PRI module. So, and here is the back view on our U80. So on the U80, it actually has the HDMI port. So you may connect with a like a monitor or a like a TV using this HDMI port. Then we got our U100. So the U100 is supports a maximum number of 100 concurrent cores and a maximum number of 500 extension user. And the back view from the U100 is exactly the same as our U80. Then here comes our EX16 Expansion Box. So this expansion box is designed to expand another 16 of our FSS parts that you can use it to connect with your analog phones. So if you're having like a whole bunch of analog phones, that you can use this expansion box as a extension. So I have provided you a basic table here. So let's say if you have any number of the analog devices number that is under 32, that you can actually use two of our expansion box plus a U20. Or if you have a whole bunch analog devices, like somewhere around like under 200, that you can use 12 of our expansion box, and then using either our U60 or the U80. And also we have the auto configurations setting in our IPPBS for the EX16. Then here comes our SIP phones. So for SIP phones, we are having two models, the H81 and the H83. The major difference between these two models is the H81 is supposed to line SIP account, while the H83 is supports 4 lines. And also the H83 it is using this LCD color screen, while the H81 is using the black light screen. So other than this, they are pretty much the same on the flip phones. All right. So let's go over the basic setup now. So this section is mainly for customers who never use our PBX and do not know how to set it up or never using any other PBX. So I have listed the steps that you can follow this step to set up your first time IP PBX. So first of all, after you receiving the hardware IP PBX, you need to access the PBX system, right? So we have provided you a default part. The one is the RAM part and one is the LAN part. So in many cases that you won't be able to access the PBX using this default part directly. That is because due to the different network setting, you might not have the 1.100 segment, like internet segments, like IP address segments in your network. So that won't be allow you to access the default part with this IP address. So if that is the case, there are many solutions to solve it, but the easiest way to do it is to connect the IP PBX with your computer. Then you can use your computer to access the PBX first, and then change the network address on the PBX, and then plugging in the PBX with your network again, and then you will be able to access the PBX. So first of all, you need to add the, if your computer does not have the network segments on your local networks using the LAN parts, like the 10.100 network segments, you need to add the network segments to your local computer first, and then using your computer to access the PBX. And after you're able to access the PBX, you should be able to see this login interface that's saying your connection is not private. And just click on the events, and there is a persist option. So after you persist it, and you should be able to see the login interface to our IP PBX systems. Use the default credential, which is both amend, to log in into our PBX. And if it is the first time, like the initial setup in our PBX, it should have a quick setup visual pop up, and you just need to follow the quick setup visual for 6 steps, choosing the language, creating departments, and also the network options. So you can also change the network settings within the quick setup visual. But if you just like skip the quick setup panels, you can also change the network under this path. Under the systems, we have network, and then click on the network profiles and change the WAN network that is matching with your own network. And then click on save, and it will be and then it will save the settings, then connect your PBX in your own local networking. And then let's assuming that we are able to access our IP PBX systems now. Next thing you need to do is to configure the module setting. So if you are using the FSS or any other module other than the BRI or the PRI, you do not need to make any changes here because we defaultly set the module as the FSS / like FSO. But if you are using a E1 or T1, you need to choose the module type in the module settings. And after you choosing the module settings, so the clocking source should be set in default. And after you choosing the module type, just click on save, and it will have a reboot pop-up box saying the system need to be reboot. So just click on yes, and it will be rebooting the whole system. After we reboot the systems, we need to check on the chunks. So under the switchboard, we are able to checking all the chunks, whether or not they are successfully registered into our PBF. So there is a static column, the channel static, so it should be ideal, or like if you're using a zip chunks, so it should be saying like registered. So we need to check on the chunks status before we move on to the next step. And after we configuring all the chunks that we use, the next step would be creating the extension. So creating the extensions, we need to go into the extensions and click on the IP extension, click on the add button, and then it will be showing these panels. It will be automatically generates the extension number, the password, and the name for you. So just if you don't need to change the extension number or the names, just click on submit, and it will be create the extension account. And after we create the extension account, we'll be need to configure the outbound a couple settings in our outbound control for make sure that we are able to make the outbound call. So first of all, we need to set up the dial rules. So going into the dial control and then choose the dial rules, we need to create a new dial rule here. So for creating a new dial rules, there are 3 sections that you have to fill out. First of all, we got our dial rule name. So you need to giving a name to this dial rule, right? And then we need to fill out the dial panels. So for dial panels, we have a specific pattern for the dial panels. X stands for any digits that is between 0 to 9, and N stand for any digits between 2 to 9, and Z stand for any digits that is non-zero, which is 1 to 9. And then we have the dot. Dot means any digits or letter. And also we have the bracket. So the bracket, each bracket means 1 digit, but you can put in the number into the bracket. So only the number that is matching the within the bracket is able to make the call. So the most common dial panel that we will be inputting here. The first one would be the X dot. That means at least 2 digits. The phone number, at least it has to be at least 2 digits, and the other digits patterns can be XX dot. That means the phone number has to be at least 3 digits, such as 911, right? That is at least 3 digits. And if you are trying to, like, I would be let's say I would be only allowing the number starting with 1 or starting with 9 to make the outbound call. So you can here you can do is to set the dial prefix with the number that is starting with 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. So that is the prefix. So if you're not sure the the settings on the dial prefix or the prepend. So the prepend is more for like area code or country code. So if you're not sure with the prepend or the prefix, so just leave it blank for the moment. Dial patterns is the one thing that you need to fill out here. If you don't fill out the dial panels, I mean the dial patterns. If you don't fill out the dial patterns here, it won't be able to make the call. And the last thing would be choosing the available chunks. So you need to click on the available chunks, and it will be dispatching to the selected chunks, and just click on submit. Then we create our dial route. After we click, after we create our dial route, the next step would be we need to either edit our dial plan one. So the dial plan one is the default dial permissions that comes with the systems. If you need to create a new one, like a new dial permissions, just click on the add, and then giving a name to the dial permissions and choosing the available rules. So we just created a dial route called Emily. So just click on the Emily, and it will be set it as a selected rules, and then click on submit. So, and let's assume that we just create a new dial permissions. Here, what we need to do is to click on it. We need to go to the extension setting and click on the add, and then choosing the dial permission that we just created, because the dial permission in each extension is defaultly in the dial plan one. So if we just created a new dial permissions, we need to choose the dial permission here. And the next setup we need to configure is the inbound control. So let's go to the inbound control. Under inbound control, we have the inbound routers. So we need to edit the chunks settings right here. So we need to set up a inbound destinations. So there is a list, like if there's a list of inbound destination option for you, such as we have IVR, we have a specific extension, we have voicemail, chunks, department, conference, etc. So let's choosing the extension, a specific extension here. Oops, let's go back. And after we choosing the extension, such as, for example, 101, just click on submit, apply all the changes. In until this point, you should be able to make the inbound, to make the outbound score and receiving the inbound score. So all the calls coming with the chunks will be directly calling to the extension 101. So till this point, the PBX is, if everything works correctly, the PBX should be able to make call and also receiving calls. And also you need to register your IP phone. Yeah, that's one step that I forgot to mention. You need to register your IP phone in order to make the call. And let's moving on to some hierarchy features. So we just configured the inbound routers. So all the calls coming through the chunks number will be calling to the extension 101. So what about that I use a PRI chunks with more than one line? What, like, for example, I having 20 lines. That means I have 20 numbers. So if all the calls goes to extension 101, so here comes to the handy features. So we have the direct routing. So in the under inbound control, we have the direct routing. We can use the DID number. So just click on the add, and then the DID number would be matching with the light number that you're using, such as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And any call that is calling to the number of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I can choose the inbound destination. So I can choose a IVR, or I can choose it to a specific department, or to a cube, or to a time route, etc. So I can actually set up different DID numbers. So which number that is the cost to that number is going to a different destinations. So in terms of IVR, so let's talk a little bit about the IVR here. So the IVR is under the inbound, the first features under the inbound control. So in the IVR, we need to create a IVR first. So the IVR feature is the feature that, for example, you calling to a number, and the first thing you will hear is press 1 for English and press 2 for Spanish. And after you're choosing the language, you can also set it up to press 1 to sales department and press 2 to technical support. So that is the feature of IVR. In our systems, we support unlimited layers of IVR. So you can actually set it up with as many layers as you need. So filling out the IVR names and then create the event. So the event would be press 0, and then it goes to whatever destinations. It can be a cube, or it can be another IVR, etc. And later on, I will be setting up a video for teaching you how to set up like a hierarchies multi-layers IVR. And then click on submit, and then we can create a IVR here. After we click, and in terms of IVRs, I have also brought up the IVR prompts. So we support 2 different methods of uploading the IVR prompts. They are under the audio library. So first thing first, you can upload your own IVR prompts by clicking the upload button, but we do have a specific like restriction on the IVR format. And for more details, you can, I believe it set it with a limited like file size and the file format. So for more specific data, you need to check on the user guides. Besides uploading your own IVR prompts files, you can also using the record feature. So for using the record feature, what you need to do is to click on the record, and you need to fill out the file name. So that is going to be the IVR prompts file names, and then choosing a specific extensions. So after you click on submit, it will be directly calling to the extension that you selected. So all you need to do is to grab your phone and start to recording your IVR prompts. After you finish, hang up the call, and the system will be automatically save the IVR prompts file for you. So that is the IVR prompts. And then let's moving back to the inbound control. So the next feature we have is the call queue. So the call queue feature would be putting all the calls into a queue, and the extension is going to pick up the calls in the queue one by one. So you would like to create different queue for different departments. So you can create one call queue specifically for your technical support department, or a second call queue for your marketing departments, etc. So simply by clicking on the add button, and then we have the call queue. So inputting the call queue name. So on the static agents and the dynamics agents, the difference between these two type of agents would be for the all the static agent, they will be automatically receive calls. And for dynamic agents, they do need to manually log into the IP phones in order to receive the calls. So we do recommend you to set up as a static agent, and you can check on the call queue login feature code. Under our telephonies, we have a feature code sections. So you can check the feature codes under the call queue feature codes under the feature codes. So such as for the call queue, the login code would be *62. So that is the difference between the statics and the dynamics agents. And then click on the submit. We can submit the we can create the call queue. And for the next feature, we have the time condition. So the time condition, we suggest you to fill up from the bottom to the top. So you can fill out all the holidays first, such as Christmas on December 25th, and I have my New Year on January 1st. Fill out the holiday first, and then fill out the weekdays, such as I work from Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So fill out the weekday as seconds, and then you can create the time rule. So by creating the time rule, you can choose the action that is going to be applied to the weekdays and applies to the holidays. And then click on submit. The next feature I would like to talk a little bit is the more extension feature on the on each of the extensions. So first of all, we got our call forward. So by the call forward feature, as the name suggests, it is going to forward the call. So you may click on the add, and then you can choose the forward type. On choosing the statics on the forward type, such as I only need to forward my call when I am on busy or when the phone is no answer and I am also busy. So we provided you a different type of forward statics. And then also choosing the destination, such as if I'm not in my office and I'm busy, it will be forwarding my call to my cell phone numbers. And then click on submit. Then we finish the call forward feature here. Then the next one, we got the follow me. So the follow me feature is somewhat similar to the one number station feature that we have in our version 2, but instead of creating a stations and putting the numbers in a stations list, for the follow me, we can actually type it up with a extension number, and it can support not only to call the extension number, but also your cell phone numbers, and both your cell phone numbers and your extension numbers. So you first, you need to choosing the extension number, such as my extension number is 101. And then inputting the feature me list. So it can be, for example, I have 3 cell phones, right? So I can forward to my 3 cell phones, and they will be trying to catch me one by one. So if my 123 cell phone number is not answered, it will try to call out to the 234. If the 234 number is still no one answer, you try to call to the next one until it try all the numbers in the follow me list. So that is the follow me feature. And also we have the wake up call. So the wake up call, you can choosing a specific, it will be more like mainly apply for the hotel solutions. So you can set up a specific time on a specific extension to ring the IP phone. Then we have the paging and intercom feature. So for the paging and intercom, so you can consider as a group. You will be creating a group and dispatching the devices into these groups, and you have the group number. So if you try to call this group number, all the device in this group will be ringed, or it will be doing the paging. So one project we just finished in Korea is they were just since our IPPBX is SIP enabled, so it's based on SIP, you can actually register another SIP devices to our IPPBX. So the Korean project that we just finished in for a MITE, if they use our horn speaker, the SH30, the horn speaker to register on our PBX, and then they are using the horn speaker for paging. So in their case, they don't need those complicated features such as like background music playing and scheduled tasks, like scheduled announcements. They don't need those features, so they just like straight up register the horn speaker onto our PBX and then using a IP phone for paging. So the security persons in the control room just need to grab a phone and dial the group numbers and start to making the paging, like any emergency announcements or regular announcements, etc. So that is the paging and intercoms feature. And for the next one, we have the whitelist. So for the whitelist feature, I would like to put up here. So the whitelist means only the number within the whitelist is able to call that extensions. So for example, not everyone in the organization can call the boss, right? So here we need to create a whitelist, putting only the manager number and the assistant number can be calling to the boss. So we need to create the whitelist here. After we create the whitelist, we need to go to the extensions, choosing my boss extensions and choosing the whitelist that we just created. So from here, only the numbers in the whitelist is able to call this call the boss IP phone. And the next one I chose is extremely important for you guys. So here is the place where you can capture the pocket. So for many cases that you guys would need a technical support, and our technical support would asking you to can you capture the pockets for us, and we need to analyze the data, etc. So I have provided you a steps for how to use the Ethernet capture and also the channel monitor here. So simply choosing the interface, either a range or a length, and then click on the start button and grab your phone, start to making the call. After like a few minutes, hang up the call and then click on the stop button on the interface. And after you click on the stop button, it will be automatically download a pocket files. And then we would like you to comment the pockets with at least with some information included. I use extension 101, trying to call whatever numbers, like I try to use extension 101 and call extension 102, and it does not work. I cannot hear any voice. So please describe your issue, your problems. And then also with the times, like at at 9 p.m., I try to use 101 to call 102, and it does not work. I can't hear any voice, or I can only hear one-way audio here. And then send us the pockets. That way it would be more efficient for us to analyze the data for you. So this tool is quite helpful here. So I didn't brought up all the PBX feature for today, because as you guys know that we have a whole bunch features on our IP PBX, and it won't be have enough time within 1 hour, so we won't be have enough time to going over through all the features. So I just pick out a few that the common use features and describe it here. And let's see, if you guys is interested in like knowing how to use a specific features, later on I can like recording another videos or a specific video for the specific features for you. If you would like me to do so, I have no problem doing that. And let's see what else. Let's go over some common issues. So for we do like facing issues a lot, but so again, for here, I am not trying to guide you through how to troubleshooting. We do not troubleshooting in this way. I just providing you a some common reason that can be causing by the issues. So first of all, let's go over the registration extensions issue here. So sometimes you may not able to register the extensions, register the IP phone. So if you cannot register a extensions, we need to analyze the error code. So if you have a 401 unauthorized error codes come back to you, that means the request require the user authorizations. So at that point, you can check on the extensions. So go over to the extensions and edit the extensions, check on the remote extension. So normally the remote extension need to be on, and then check on the permit IP. So if you have filled out the permit IP, so the permit IP means only the IP address that you fill in here is able to register the extension. So if you are putting in a wrong IP address in the permitted IP, you won't be able to register the extension. So if you are having the 401, so these are the two common reasons causing the 401s. And if you are having a 403, which is forbidden, that means the server understood the request by refusing to fulfill it. So at that point, you need to check on the password. More than likely would be the mistyping in the password. If you are having a, if you are receiving a 404, which is the not found error code, that means the server has not found anything matching with the URI. So more than likely it would be the server, the system cannot recognize the username. So please check on the account username if you are having a 404 not found issue. And if you are having no error code, but just keep loading and keep trying, and no replies and no data come back to your to the device. One thing that you can check is the port on the real IP address that is under preference. So for most of the time that you may have involved with the port forwarding on your router. So make sure that the port on the router is matching the ports on the IP PBX. So you may like, for our default port is 5060, right? So if you have modified the port, so make sure that you modify the port on the PBX as well. And then if everything looks correctly, also check on your IP phone address part. That could be the reason. And for the next common issue would be you cannot make a call. So I have separated into different situations. So let's take a look on if you are using a analog line. First thing you would like to check with a analog line is to check on the analog module. So if you're not sure if the analog module is damaged, the easiest way to check on the analog module is to create a IVR with the default voice prompt. The reason why I suggest you to use a default, so we have 4 default voice prompts come with the systems. The reason why I suggest you to using the default prompt is the IVR prompt that you're uploading by yourself can be incorrect, or it can be causing the issues having no voice. So using the default prompts is the safest way and can be avoiding like this and that issue. And then creating a IVR, and then we need to modify the inbound destination under the chunks, selecting the IVR that we just created, and then using our cell phone to try to call the numbers. So if you can hear the IVR sound, that means the modules is workable. If you cannot hear any voice from the IVR, that means more than likely the analog module can be damaged. So you need to, at that point, you need to check on the analog module. If your analog module is working fine, then you can also check on the analog setting under the preference. So under the analog settings, we have a whole bunch parameters here. So there are a couple parameters can be affect the cause issue. So in some country, the opera modes we default in FCC, but in some country you may need to address it to a different options. And let's see what else. I think the common parameters would be the opera mode, but it can be like another parameters here. And last thing you would like to do if you cannot solve the problem is to capture the data pockets and send us the pockets, and then we can analyze the signals for you, because anything involved with the analog light can be complicated. It always complicated, right? So it is always complicated with the analog light, because you need to analyze the signals inside the analog. So if you cannot fix the problem, send our technical support the capture package, and then we can take a look on the issue for you. And the next situation would be, what about I'm using a PRI trans? So one common issue with the PRI trunks is you need to fill out the outbound CID in the extensions. So for some of the PRI trunks, they require the number authorizations. So if you leave it blank, it won't be past the authorization process. So you need to fill out the outbound CID numbers here matching with your actual number. And if you already fill out the outbound CID and it does not work, you can also check on the module. So go to the module settings under preference, try to switch on and off the CRC4 on these options. So if your CRC4 is on, you can try it to turn it off and then save and give it a try. If it's off, turn it on and give it a try. And I know that sounds a little bit weird, but sometimes it can work with like switching on and off the CRC4. And let's see. So if you're using a zip trunks, the outbound CID can be one of the reason, like one of the possible reasons here. And another possible reason for using a zip trunk can be the zip header needs. So when you are receiving the zip trunks from your zip trunks provider, they should be also providing you another document, such as the send PAI has to be on and off, or so that is one of the common parameters that can be affected on the zip headers. So it would be like completely depending on the countries and the zip trunk providers. So they should be providing you the information about like what zip headers it needs to be on and off, and what is the option that you need to choose for like protocols and etc. The PAIs. And for DAO permissions, it usually is best to keep it as default. And then we have another common issue would be you cannot hang up a call. So if you cannot hang up a call with a analog lines, one thing that you can check on is to check on the setting in the trunks. So the hang up priority detections can be the possible parameters that can affect you to cannot hang up the call. So the hang up priority detection should be off. In most cases, usually it has to be off. And if your hang up priority detection is off, you can try to adjust the BC count to a smaller number. So the default BC count number we set is 6, but you can actually try it to like a smaller number, such as 1 or 2. So that is the count the number of counts from the signals. Do I need to, if the hang up activated? So if you are adjusting the number of counts, it might be work. And then if you are using a zip trunk, so this issue is kind of complicated. So if in many cases that you will be having the port forward inverted with, if you're using a zip trunk for making our calls. So if there is the port forwarding inverted, you need to fill out the external sections in our real IP events, including the external media address, signaling address, and also the path. And also you need to fill it out correctly. So if you are making a inner call within your office, a local call that you don't need to fill out these external sections, but in most cases, you will have the port forwardings inverted and you need to fill out these sections. And if you're using epoxies, etc., you do need to fill out these sections also, and also including the local net. So I believe, so I just pick out a 3 of the common issues that can be happened to you. But also after these webinars, we are planning to make a like a weekly webinars for focusing on the common issues, such as the one-way audio or the no audio issues, or another common issue that you guys would like to discuss about and would like to see the possible solutions. We can set it up. And also for the reason why I brought up the common issue here is, as you guys know, that our technical support is in China here, and we have the time difference. So I think it might be helpful that you guys can give it a try before you are reaching out our technical support for help. So what if it works? So I know in a lot of cases, this is not, it might cannot work, and you still need to reaching out to our technical support, but we can give it a try, right? And for all the sections in the common issue here, I am not saying that it is going to be like that is the reasons going to cause the issues. So I'm just saying that is the possible reason that can be causing the issues, and you can give it a try. So I'm not saying that has to be, and there must be one of the reasons that causing the issue here. And I'm not trying to guide you through to troubleshooting in the way that I just saying. So we don't troubleshooting in this way. So in a normal procedure that we troubleshooting, we need to check our chunks first. We need to make sure the chunks that we're using is registered and the static is okay. And then we need to check on the IP phone, right? The phone is not broken and it is working correctly. And then we will be the next step we would be doing is to check on the parameters in the PBX, the setting in the PBX. We don't like go straight away to change the setting in our PBX. So I'm not trying to guide you through like how to troubleshooting, but just giving you a brainstorm idea that like it can